Well, welcome. I want to introduce you to a new program that I'm having. It's called the Performing Songwriter. We're going to talk about songwriting, and we're going to talk about performing. We're also going to have a guest each time, which I'm going to introduce in a minute. And we're also going to have a Skype guest every show. So I'd like to introduce a friend of mine and guest today, Terry Rivel. Terry.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me on here.
Hey, thanks for being a guinea pig for the first show.
Hope I don't look too much like a guinea pig.
So before we're gonna share some songs and we're gonna talk about that stuff. What I'd like you to do is just basically give us a real brief introduction about how long you've been songwriting and performing.
Gee, I hate to say my age, but actually, why not? I mean, I'm 64 now. I started. I wanted to play guitar when I was a pretty young kid, but never really got to starting to learn till I was like 17. And that's when all the garage bands were playing, you know. So I guess I wanted to catch up to them, so I figured I better start learning. And this is probably like 67. When I was actually teaching myself guitar chords, the Sgt. Pepper album was out. So there I've gone and dated myself right there. And I just learned to play, starting out like a lot of people started playing a lot of Beatles and Dylan, you know, and then a little while later starting to get into Jerry Jeff Walker and Chris Christopherson, played in a couple different bands, you know, mostly doing covers, really. I only had like maybe one futile attempt writing a song, and probably it just came to a point where you know, I was having a major change in my life, I guess, like going through a divorce and everything else in 1984. And that's when I actually said, well, you know, I've got all these ideas in my head. And once I started to write, I realized, you know, well, hey, I could do that. Just start, you know, I would come up with maybe a line or two, you know, that could be a good chorus or something like that. And I had played so many great songs that I covered for so many years, you know, I mean, all those Jerry Jeff Walker songs, you know, you can't do much worse than that, you know, as far as influence. And around I guess probably in 85 that I actually started writing, you know, and then I just didn't turn back, just kept writing song after song. Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that I'd like to talk about today in terms of songwriting is how does somebody get the idea? How do you get the idea to write a song? So why don't you start?
Yeah, I guess it comes in different ways. I mean, a lot of mine are kind of like about different people. Some of them famous people. I mean, I've written songs about Johnny Cash and June Carter and Hank Williams, even Annie Oakley. You know, people that were inspiring to me. Many dating situations, usually when they didn't go well, and I would come up with a song. And you know, places that I've gone, and just interesting people I've met in different places, or I've even written about places that I wanted to go and never did, but imagined being there and wrote a song about it. And then maybe went to the place later on, and then I felt like I legitimized myself by actually going there, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've been doing a little bit of thinking, and sometimes something pops in your head. But what I was thinking lately is that I'm going to try to do is to be more observant about what's happening around me, even just while I'm walking in the mall, listening to people, and pick up ideas. And something that I've never done, really, that I have to start doing is carrying with me a little notebook.
Right.
And so that when I see something or hear something, I'll write it down. Otherwise, I'm going to forget it.
Yeah.
You know. The other thing, have you ever like fooled around on the guitar and came up with a certain chord progression or something, and then that led to a song?
Yeah, that's happened a couple of times. The lyrics sometimes come a little slower than the melodies and the chord changes. So usually I'm better off if I have some lyrics first, because I find it easy to find the music. I've even put music to a couple of people's poems that I turned into songs, you know. But I can't think of any examples, but I think I've done that a couple of times where I've had a little progression. And, But sometimes it just ends up being an instrumental. I can't think of any lyrics for it.
I'll tell you what, we're going to do a couple songs. I'm going to have you do one. And maybe explain, how, if you remember, where the idea came from.
Right. Okay, well, I thought I would do this. It's kind of a fun song, and it gets quite a bit of audience response. I think it was just shortly after Johnny Cash and June Carter passed away, right around like 3 months apart from each other or something like that. And I had always been such a big fan of theirs for so many years. I thought, wouldn't it be great to write a song about them? But then at the same time, I was sort of pining after somebody that I had really wanted to date, but she wasn't that responsive. So I started writing something about her, but I had it in my head. I don't know what came first, the first verse or the chorus, but I started thinking about, like, well, I'm like a Johnny Cash, because a lot of people told me, oh, you sound a little bit like him, you know, and, you know, whatever, for whatever that's worth. But, you know, he was always a big influence of mine, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice to write something that's a tribute to Johnny Cash and June Carter? And I was thinking, well, I'm kind of like a Johnny Cash looking for his June, because she was like the perfect partner for him, you know? They were very happy, you know. And a lot of people never find that. So I ended up writing this song called Looking for June.
Okay.
Pardon me if I hit you with a lie. Pardon me if I say things like, wish you were mine. It just wouldn't be right if I gave up on you. I'd only end up at the home of the blues. I grew up with Johnny Cash and June Carter. What he had to go through, he couldn't have without her. I learned to play, I walked the line, Folsom Prison, I still miss someone. But when they sang together, you knew they were in love and having fun. I'm like Johnny Cash, looking for his June. I'm like Hank Williams, howling at the moon. Won't you think it's strange if I give up too soon? I'm like Johnny Cash, looking for his June. Sometimes I'm so lonesome I could cry, and understand why the whippoorwill was too blue to fly. If old Hank just had a woman he could count on all the time, and maybe could have made it past the age of 29. I'm like Johnny Cash, looking for his June. I'm like Hank Williams, howling at the moon. Won't you think it's strange if I give up too soon? I'm like Johnny Cash, looking for his June. I know you're afraid to try and care. Would we end up like the famous duo, Sonny and Cher? But I think it's the right thing, and I know you'd be happy all the time. And it'd be so bad to take a chance on love and leave those blues behind. I'm like Johnny Cash, looking for his June. I'm like Hank Williams, howling at the moon. Won't you think it's strange if I give up too soon? I'm like Johnny Cash, looking for his June. Like Johnny Cash, looking for his June. and it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire. Yeehaw.
And I've heard that a few times.
Well, that kind of took off as a live song because the first time or two I played it, might have been at the Mermaid Inn in Philly the first time I played it, and it got an okay response. I think I was kind of warming up to performing it. You know, the first couple of times you perform a song and be a little... And I played at this this church, I think it was one of those church coffee houses in Princeton area or somewhere. I don't even remember exactly where it is. And all of a sudden, this table of people in the back, when I came to that line about howling at the moon, they howled. And I thought, aha, what an idea. Why don't I get... So people that know the song, even sometimes when they don't, they just start howling after that, you know, and it's kind of like everybody just kind of gets into that kind of partying kind of mood, you know.
That's funny. Okay. This song I made up in the 90s. As you might remember, I managed, quote unquote, small some people.
Yes.
And one of the people, she was telling me one time she'd been married before, and she had gotten away from her music, and marriage didn't go that good. And I remember her saying, "I don't think I'm ever going to have a relationship again." You know, she was still in that kind of a down mood.
Yeah.
So I took that idea and I made it in the first person, and it's called "Should I Fall in Love Again?" I can see it in your eyes. I'm not sure if it's too wise. I'm not sure if I should fall in love again. It's true that I would miss the sweet taste of your kiss. Maybe it's just better that we're friends. And I wish that I could find a simple sign someone would be kind enough to send. Message from above, it's alright to fall in love. It's alright to fall in love again. Now I've been in love before, and she walked right through the door. Now I'm kind of wary of it all. Love is so uncertain that even scared of flirting, I'd rather be alone and risk a fall. When the heart is broken and the reasons go unspoken, you know it's hard to comprehend. Nothing is for certain, I guess I'm finally learning. Sometimes forever has an end. And I love it when your head's upon my shoulder. I love the thought that we'd be side by side. Maybe it would work 'cause we're both older. You know, it might be worth a try. Yes, I can see it in your eyes. Not sure if it's too wise. I'm not sure if I should fall in love again. It's true that I would miss the sweet taste of your kiss. Maybe it's just better that we're friends. But I wish that I could find a simple sign someone would be kind enough to send. A message from above that it's alright to fall in love. It's alright to fall in love again. Message from above that it's alright to fall in love. It's alright to fall in love again.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you. We're going to talk about performing after we see our Skype interview. But you know, thinking about it, I have a harder time not not screwing up, or screwing up, I should say, and not screwing up when I only have like a few people here, like one, as opposed to a big audience.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I get self-conscious, I guess, with like a very small number of people or person.
Yeah.
Of course, as you know, I forget my words anyway.
Well, maybe sometimes the audience consists of a lot of people that are not musicians, so you kind of feel like maybe they won't.
No, not really. I don't know what it is. Anyway, we have a Skype interview, and it is with a very good songwriter, a friend of mine up in New York, Robin Greenstein. Yeah. Robin actually started out, I believe, she was a writer in Bob Dylan's publishing company. So this has been recorded before. We're going to listen to it now, and we'll be back. The radio station WMB-FM in Boston wrote the following quote about our guest today, Robin Greenstein. A musician who mixes everything from blues to old-time banjo into a thoroughly contemporary mix. Robin, I thought maybe we'd start off and ask you to give us some kind of a history of your musical career.
Studying folk music and playing guitar starting at the age of 11. I was also listening to the Beatles and Motown and show music, which, you know, show music was, when I was growing up, show music was as popular as top 40 music. As a matter of fact, a lot of top 40 songs were show tunes. But I started playing guitar and got involved in this very, very seminal music school out on Long Island called the Guitar Workshop. And I started getting exposed to folk and blues, and then at 17 I picked up the banjo. And then I went to college on Long Island at the State University of New York at Stony Brook, and I was majoring in music there, and I found out that the 60s folk legend Hetty West was actually living out there and studying at the university and teaching. So I took her courses, and then I got a work-study program working for her, indexing and cataloging her record collection. And so I got even more exposure to folk music. And then I spent a year studying in England and doing music in England, which was really interesting. And then when I came back, I moved into the city, and I started playing around the village and places, and started playing in college coffee houses, and I met some people who were friends with a guy who worked for Bob Dylan, and he was starting to come up in his company as a song plugger, and so they signed me to a contract there, which was very exciting, although they didn't get any covers on my songs. And, you know, from there my career developed into the college market for many years. In the early 2000s, actually in the 1990s, I started performing in Europe, and I'd go back to Europe every summer to perform. And then in the early 2000s, I got involved with Martin Guitars, and I was a clinician for Martin Guitars for a few years and traveled worldwide with them. And through it all, on and off, I was doing some private teaching, and now I'm doing a little more teaching. Still traveling around, not as much. And you know, throughout it all, writing songs. And you know, when I first started out, I was trying to get a record deal because that's what people did. And it was almost like a little bit of a stigma if you put out your own recording. Now, of course, everybody puts out their own recording, and there's no stigma at all. And that's finally what I ended up doing. And so I have 5 or 6 recordings out, some of original music, some of traditional folk and blues songs about women. I have a kids CD, and I have a multicultural holiday CD. So I have my hands in a lot of different kinds of musical genres. You know, I love songwriting, and I love to hear songwriters. But I love all the other stuff too.
This show deals with both the craft of songwriting and also the performance of original songs. So I wanted to ask you, Robin, in terms of ideas, what are some of the methods that you have used to generate good ideas for good songs?
You know, I get very inspired by reading the newspaper. I live in New York, and so I get the New York Times. And the New York Times always has some really cool, interesting articles. There's a lot of human interest stuff, and I get a lot of inspiration from there. And I often, when I am driving or walking, I free associate, and a lot of ideas come to me that way. For the most part, my style of writing has been more of an introspective, personal experience, relationship kind of songwriting. But I branched out. I write about more topical things. Sometimes I try and write funny songs. Sometimes I write songs about other people, narratives. But it's not hard to get the inspiration. It's hard to follow through on the spark.
Thanks. Now I think we'd like to hear one of your songs.
All right, so this is called A Long Ride. Setting sail for the western sky. Got my baby by my side. Moon's rising up, it's a perfect night to take a long ride. First time I saw you, you were staring at me. Oh, your big brown eyes said I want company. Right then I knew it was our destiny to take a long ride. And how far we've come, who would have guessed? Now that I've found you, I truly feel blessed. With you by my side, looking forward to the rest of my life. Oh, I hope it's a long ride. I've been to Europe, I've been to Japan, I've traveled all over to strange foreign lands. Next time I go, I'll be holding your hand. We'll take a long ride. Truly feel blessed with you by my side, looking forward to the rest of my life. Ooh, hope it's a long ride, baby. Well, I've been to Europe, I've been to Japan, I've traveled all over to to strange foreign lands. The next time I go, I'll be holding your hand. We'll take a long ride. So come on, baby, let's take a long ride. Here we go now, take a long ride.
Robin, I like that song. I thought maybe you could give us some additional insight into the song.
It's one of those songs that it just feels, it's fun to play it, and every time I play it, it just brings back to me that feeling of just sauntering along, you know, in really warm weather, and just really, you know, taking a long walk, a long ride, whatever it is.
This program also deals with the performance skills necessary to present our songs in a way that touches the audience. So, Robin, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the ways that you have learned how to perform to the extent of being able to connect with the audience, to be able to connect with them also in an emotional sense?
The first thing is you have to develop yourself as a performer. You have to put across your songs sincerely. And it helps to make contact with them, make eye contact. I don't think you always have to explain what a song is about for people. I think people, you know, who sing with their eyes closed all the time and stuff like that, I think it's a little difficult. People feel like they're watching somebody in some kind of a trance. Yet there have been many successful performers who used to do that, like Linda Ronstadt and others. So I think that you have to develop yourself as a performer, and you have to learn how to connect with an audience, and you just have to go out there and do it and do it and do it. And you know, your skills have to be good, because it's hard to put across a song if you're fumbling for your chords, or you're fumbling for your pitch. So, you know, a performer means developing the skills, developing your singing, developing your playing, and, you know, figuring out how to get the emotional truth out of a song.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's hear one more song.
A new song, and this is an example of a song that's completely the opposite as far as the genesis. It was a song that I started many years ago, had the idea, and this is very typical of songwriters. You come up with the first verse, come up with a great chorus, great hook, and I write with strong melodic hooks. That's just kind of where I come from. And then what? And then you can't develop the rest of the song. And so you wait. This is the 99% perspiration. So this song sat dormant for a long time. And I had all kinds of extra lyrics and stuff, and it just wasn't coming together. And finally I decided that I needed to bounce it off somebody. So I sat down with another musician-songwriter friend, and I played it for her, and we worked on it together, and we finished it. So this is the result. And it's called Where There's a Will, There's a Way. And you were asking me about where the inspiration for songs come from. My mother and my grandmother had this expression in Yiddish that translated to, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to do it, you can do it. And I always loved that expression. And so one day it kind of came together in this song about a relationship where there's trouble. So here we go. This is Where There's a Will, There's a Way. You're sitting on your side of the bed, Have you heard a word I've said? It feels like I'm talking into space. You've got that blank look across your face. Didn't used to be like this. What happened to the flowers and the kiss? You couldn't wait to get home to me. Now you saunter in so casually. Desire's gone, passion waits. Oh, what do you do with the remains? Where there's a will, there's a way. People say, so I don't think that we're over. A little give, a little take, and we can make things better. I do believe where there's a will, there's a way. I remember when we started out, you were all that I could think about. We used to talk for hours on end. You were always my best friend. 10 years on, it's a bumpy road. We're living our lives on overload. You're a little more tired and I'm harder to please. In our separate corners with no referees. Life's full of changes, ups and downs. But underneath it all, our hearts are bound. 'Cause where there's a will, there's a way. That's what people say. So I don't think that we're over. A little give, a little take, and we can make things better. I do believe where there's a will, there's a way. If you need someone to hear what's on your mind, you know I'll be the first in line. Well, don't give up on our crazy dance. Together we've got a fighting chance. 'Cause where there's a will, there's a way. And that's what people say. So I don't think that we're over. A little give, a little take, and we can make things better. I do believe if you meet me halfway, there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way, baby. I know, where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Robin, where would be the best place for people to learn about you, such as your website?
Well, I do have a website. It's robingreenstein.com, and that's Robin with an I. I also have a YouTube channel where people can watch all kinds of videos I've put up, including live in the studio, as well as some teaching videos, and that's youtube.com. And the channel is called Windy Rec, WINDYREC. And of course, you can find me on Facebook under Robin Greenstein, and I tweet under @Babaloo.
Well, Robin, I just want to thank you very much for coming on, and love your song.
Thank you so much, Ray. Keep up the good work. Great talking to you today.
Hey, I'll see you soon. Okay, so it's Robin Greenstein, and if you ever get a chance to see Robin, you're going to want to do it. So let's talk a little bit about performing. One of the reasons I wanted to do this show is I've noticed not just going to open mics, but also people that do this for full time, that they don't spend as much time thinking about how to present their songs, how to perform them. And I think that's important because I think personally, I'd rather see a good performer sing a mediocre song than I would not as good performer do a great song. Because the song, even if it's a really good song, will not necessarily carry the day with an audience.
Right.
So, what are some things that you have done? I've seen you perform a lot, and you do connect with the audience, which is really what it's about.
Yeah, well, I guess I've tried different things over the years. I mean, of course, in the first quite a few years, I would, I'd be nervous a lot, and playing in a band helped some because you had the comfort of other people around you on stage, so you know what I mean. And I was able to develop a little bit of a rapport with the audience. And then after the one band in the 80s broke up, I went back to playing solo again. And I kind of realized, at first when I was younger, I thought the Bob Dylan thing is cool. Don't say anything to the audience. But I found after a while that didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. I found out if I talk to the audience a little bit and just whether it's saying something about a song or just telling a little musician joke or whatever, you know what I mean, a banjo joke or anything, it just kind of loosens up the audience and it makes you feel loosened up too, and it makes you connect with the audience and they feel like you're not just performing at them, but they feel like a part of your performance, And I think after I realized that, and I had a little bit of vocal training too, like somewhere there in the early 80s, and that helped a little bit too. And I realized, I had a saying to myself, I think with the first George Bush when he was running, the catchphrase was, "It's the economy, stupid." I kept saying to myself, it's the vocals, stupid. It's not how great of a guitarist you are. If you're singing songs with lyrics, you want to get the vocals across. I worked on my voice and projecting my voice. I think that helped. And just kind of establishing the rapport with the audience. And then later on, in just the last couple of years, I've started even kind of joking around, like doing a little impressions. Like either between the songs, I'll do a little Jerry Seinfeld line or two or something like that. And it seems to get a big laugh. And people like that. They, so just things that are unexpected from... Because like you said, if it's a boring performance, it doesn't matter how good the song is. It's like people are going to feel like falling asleep in the middle of the song.
I mean, I've seen songwriters perform, and they're doing this, looking down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or looking down at their lyrics or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from performing, as you know. I've done magic and stuff from being a magician. And just a couple things that I'm thinking of. One guy who was what he said is you have 30 seconds to connect with the audience. If you don't connect with them in the first 30 seconds, you probably will not.
Right.
And the other thing that I read, this other guy had said, goes, before I go out on stage, I say to myself, I want these people to say at the end of the show, I could have stayed home and watched TV, I could have went to a movie, but I'm really, really glad that I came here tonight.
Right.
And if I can do that, if they feel that way, then I know I've been successful.
Right.
So I'd like you to do a song, maybe if you can, say any, how you do it in terms of the performing end of it, and that seems to work for you.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was going to do like a serious kind of song. I guess that's okay, right?
Sure.
Just go ahead and do the whole song.
Well, if you have anything to say about it in terms of like, let me put it this way: in terms of this song, what do you try to do to make the audience feel something and care about your song?
Right. Yeah. Let's see. Chose a song that's a good example of that. What's that?
Jeopardy. Oh,
okay, yeah, right. sometimes I would say something at the beginning of the song, like, well, okay, I guess, yeah, this would work. Like in this song, like, I actually got to spend a few days in Nashville a few years ago, and you know, I had a great time the whole weekend. But I just happened to notice we were at some, you know, they have so many bars along, I think it's called Broadway there, where you can just go in and hear bands like all day and all night. You know, kind of like being in New York almost. You know, and I noticed as I'm sitting there waiting for the band to go on, I noticed a woman, and I'll tell this to the audience before I do the song. I try to make it a brief story, because sometimes too long of a story can get boring too. So I'm trying to learn to make my stories concise, you know, to the point. But I was in this bar in Nashville, and I saw that this elderly woman being helped by somebody across the street, and she was having such a hard time moving along the street, and there she is doing the sights in Nashville or whatever. And right after that, this other gentleman walks in the front door by himself with a crutch on each side, crutches in both hands. And I thought, wow. And I just got this idea about, you know, everybody is going through some kind of pain, whether it be, and sometimes I feel like maybe this connects with the audience, because everybody suffers some kind of, they have a cross to bear, they're going through pain over something. Could be loss of a loved one, could be just something that they've always struggled with, you know. So I got this idea about broken people. It ended up being the title song of the CD too, you know. And also, while I came up with this little lick, and when I get to it, you'll hear it in the chorus. It's kind of like I'm doing this thing with an A minor chord with a walk down. I'll do that thing, and it's in the instrumental part too. And sometimes instrumental parts, if they're too long, can be very boring too. You can kind of lose the audience. So I try not to make them too long, especially when I'm playing live. But I kind of stole that lick from that Janis Joplin song, Cosmic Blues, you know? You know, that little walk down. So I'll say that to the audience, like, I stole this from Janis Joplin, you know? And it'll get like a few laughs, you know what I mean? And maybe that even helps relax the audience, you know? And that way they don't lose interest in the song, because it's a little bit long, you know? So, do the song?
Do the song.
Okay, all right. After that... Inside a barroom in Nashville, Tennessee, thinking about life's problems, things plaguing me. Thought about getting older and all life's miseries. Some girl I once loved back home in New Jersey, sat there gazing the door past the band, saw a woman leaning on someone she could barely stand. Then a man came walking in with crutches in both hands. Said, my God, this whole world is doing the best it can. We have to hit the bottom just to bounce back to the top. I get so doggone lonesome, like someone time has forgot. Lonesome's just like hurting, broken bones and a heart that stops. There it goes. We're all broken people, like the glass when it drops. Came on down to Nashville to visit a good friend, see what it's like to play music at the Bluebird. And then I met this lovely lady. Of course I'll never see her again. Something special about her. Ah, the hurting never ends. Have to hit the bottom just to bounce back to the top. I get so doggone lonesome, like someone time has forgot. Lonesome's just like hurting, broken bones and a heart that stops. We're all broken people, like the glass when it drops. There's the lick. I'm thinking about the people down in New Orleans, suffering, losing families. They're all in pain. Well, we have these fragile bodies, our hearts and our brains. You know we've got each other, so let's build again. I had some strange dreams one night, so bad I cannot say. All the things that bother me, pain that won't go away. When I woke up, I was so far down, I did not want to face the day. I think I hit the bottom. All I could do was pray. Have to hit the bottom just to bounce back to the top. I get so doggone lonesome, like someone time has forgot. Lonesome's just like hurting, broken bones and a heart that stops. We're all broken people, like the glass when it drops. All broken people.
Yeah.
Incredibly depressing song, I guess, but
Well, but you know, if people can, I think people can relate to that. At least some people. You know.
yeah. And I wrote that one verse about the people in New Orleans. I wrote that, I think it was only maybe a year or so after the Katrina disaster. Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I write some funny songs.
Yeah, we need a funny song.
And that's another way, you know, that's another emotion that you can tie into the audience with.
Yes.
And actually, the title of the song is nowhere in the song, which goes against most songwriting guidelines.
But that's thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box,
right.
And I always get a laugh. And this song is called Please Buy My CD. Oh, I'm a songwriter, and I play for peanuts. I like to bang on my old cheap guitar. And my friends and my family said I was fantastic. With just the right luck, I could become a star. So I cashed in my pension and I sold my car. I quit my job to be free, 'cause I needed the money, I needed the time to record my own CD. Now there's CDs in boxes and they're as heavy as lead, stored in my closet and under the bed. I'm now out of money and I'm in the red. I hope I can sell them by the time that I'm dead. Now I sent my recording to the radio stations, but those program directors are jerks. And I sent my CDs to the A&R reps. Nothing I did seemed to work. And I tried to get gigs, but those bookers are bums. Credit pressured and I poked. those gigs I did get, 'cause everybody said sorry I'm broke. And there's CDs in boxes and they're as heavy as lead, stored in my basement and under the bed. I'm out of money and I'm in the rent. I hope I can sell them by the time that I'm dead. Now if I cannot sell them, what will I do? 'Cause I've run out of friends I can call. But since I'm so creative, I could take my CDs and retile my bathroom wall. Now I still love my music, although you may not, and I may be forever poor. But even my friends and my family refuse to show up at my gigs anymore. And there's CDs in boxes and they're as heavy as lead, stored in my closet and under the bed. I'm all out of money and I'm in the red. I hope I can sell them by the time that I'm dead. Oh, by the time that I'm dead. That I'm dead, old time rock and roll could be popular again. By the time that I'm dead, folk music will be on the top of the charts. Who am I kidding? I don't know why I spent so much money on this CD. I could have put a down payment on a nice red sports car. Then I'd have a real pretty girl in my bed, instead of all these damn CDs.
Yeah. Amen.
Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask you, you have a CD out.
Yes.
And what's the name of it? You already said it's
Broken People.
Broken People.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a website. How can people get your CD? How can they learn more about Terry Rivel?
Well, they can go to, I think you can go directly to CD Baby also, and just look up Terry Rivel, TerryRivel, or it'll come up under Broken People. Mm-hmm. But you can go through my website too, which is www.terryrivelsongs.com. And the website needs to be updated because I have somebody else manage it for me. I am not Mr. Computer Wizard by any stretch. So, getting into the codes and updating the gigs.
Right, sure.
But you can also get it through, I think you can go through Reverb Nation, but you can see my latest shows that are coming up. If you go to www.reverbnation.com/Terry Rivel.
And you can always be Googled.
I can be Googled.
So I'm going to ask you, Terry, to do one more song, and
okay.
Before we close out here.
All right. Well, maybe I should end up with something humorous as well.
Okay.
I did mention earlier that sometimes the bad dating situations can lead to. So you may not have heard this in a while, but it still manages to get. And I've probably maybe changed a couple things slightly since you last heard this, but I met somebody at a Folk Song Society concert, and that immediate attraction, I think some therapists say you should run the other way when that happens, but I didn't, and ended up dating somebody for about 3 weeks, and we it ended with some silly argument on the phone because she was definitely, well, you'll see in the song how strange she was. You know what this is. So when I hung up the phone, I was at work, and my manager and dispatcher was in the other room, and he must have heard part of the conversation, and he was a real kind of goofy character anyway. He was a very humorous kind of guy, and he goes, psycho woman. And I go, aha. And I told him, I'm going to go home and write a song.
There's another way you get an idea for your song.
Exactly. So from any kind of bad situation, from the most serious thing to the most ridiculous, humorous thing. You were talking about people you observe in the mall. It could be a conversation. Could be something silly that somebody says. And it's like, if you get an idea, they say you can write from a title. And
that's right.
And I just started writing about what happened with this person, and this is what I ended up with. Try it again. Well, I went to a party, it was only me, it was just an event of the society. I was just going out to have a good time when suddenly this woman, she just blows my mind. Standing at the door of the hostess house, and she had on this lovely little blouse. Well, my eyes nearly popped right out of my head, but a friend assured me I had nothing to dread. I thought I was dreaming, was I still in bed? I had visions of wedding bells in my head. I told her I would call her just the very next night, but the way she said okay was a little strange and out of sight. Psycho woman, psycho woman, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. Psycho woman. Well, our very first date was to go downtown, out for a dinner, a little driving around. Then she laid it on me as we pulled up to the pub. She was the president of the Hates Men Club. She told me that she liked just being alone, but that she wanted me to spend the night at her home. Psycho woman, psycho woman, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. Psycho woman. Well, our second weird date, I went over to her house. I wasn't so surprised that she never had a spouse. She made me help out a little in preparing the meal, but conversation during dinner had a nice even keel. And she gave me a look that was a little suspicious. She said, now, you see this long, sharp butcher knife? Even though you're a guest in my home, and you might have offered if I gave you the chance, you are doing the dishes. Needless to say, I did them. Psycho woman, psycho woman, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. Try that again. Good evening, and welcome to an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Our feature this evening is entitled Psycho Woman, not to be confused with the full-length motion picture of a similar title, which I directed, after which several bogus sequels were made, during which I proceeded to roll over in my grave. 'Cause I am dead, you know. However, without further ado, back to our story, and we do hope those of you who are considering dating in the near future will reconsider. Well, I brought her around so she meet my friends. I seemed to find out she already knew half of them. She compared her notes with my old girlfriend. I thought it was a nightmare, could this be the end? Brought her around to my place that night, but she had 11 layers of clothes on. She was so uptight. Psycho woman. Get the audience to go, psycho woman, psycho woman, psycho woman. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. Psycho woman. I spent the night on the couch and she had the bed, but they were not quite the plans I had in my head. But the very next morning, she's so nice and sweet, I went to the store to pick up her little treat. I got up, she was gone, the place was so ransacked, it looked like a rundown hobo shack. Psycho woman, psycho woman, psycho woman. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. Welcome to a strange world, a world in which most people may seem to be normal. And then there's Psycho Woman. Don't follow her. Her next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Psycho Woman. Well, Terry, thanks a lot for the
Thank you.
Our initial episode.
It's a pleasure.
And thanks for being the guinea pig. And
I used to have one.
Did you?